Hey sports fans, back again, and this time we're here to talk about one of the brighter stars in the upcoming draft you may have never heard of. With quarterbacks like Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence being the two more popular names among this upcoming crop of top quarterback picks, we have a name to get yourself familiar with before the 2021 draft: Trey Lance. But before we get into all things Trey Lance, take a second to click that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all of our content. All done? Perfect. Let's go. Growing up in Minnesota, Trey Lance learned how to play football from his father. His dad, Carlton Lance, who played cornerback, had brief stints with the Canadian Football League and World Football League. While he didn't know the ins and outs of being a quarterback, he knew what frustrated defensive backs and began teaching his son how to do just that. Trey's backyard education his father gave him had less to do with how to be a good quarterback and more about how to beat a good defense. Before long, Trey began throwing the ball wherever his father asked him to put it and quickly found his zip. It was clear Trey was a natural, and his father continued to hone his ability up until high school. At Marshall, Trey Lance was able to do it all, but still not considered a quarterback by Power 5 schools. It's one thing to play quarterback in high school, it's another for the college that recruits you to see you as a quarterback. Well, the schools that wanted Trey wanted him to play wide receiver or defensive back. One of those schools was rumored to be Rutgers, while Iowa was reportedly looking at Trey Lance to play linebacker. Lance stuck to his guns and wasn't interested in a position switch, and before long, North Dakota State came into the picture and Lance ended up committing to them in December of 2017. The place he'd hoped to go, his home state of Minnesota, never sent an offer. Trey Lance would show all the colleges that overlooked him that he was every bit as special as the higher recruited athletes. Lance introduced himself to the football world with a record-setting redshirt freshman year. After only throwing one pass during his true freshman season, Lance was given the reins in 2019 and set an all-division NCAA record for most passes thrown in a season without giving up an interception. That was 28 touchdowns thrown without a single blemish. The boy can play, and he's not just a passer. Lance added 1,100 yards on the ground and 14 touchdowns. Trey's achievements this year would also include the Walter Payton Award and the Jerry Rice Award. Not a bad way to introduce yourself to the college world. Lance played the shortest college football season ever. The Bison's 2020 fall season was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, so Lance only played one non-conference game. Many think that the school put on this game to make sure Trey Lance had one last chance to show the world what he was made of before turning pro. But the showcase wasn't just for Lance. Letting the media see what the pride of North Dakota State could do one more time and build an FCS program decided to cancel its regular season if Lance had decided to play this coming February. Indy SU season and FCS championship would last through May, so he wouldn't have been eligible to enter the NFL draft, so his decision to enter the draft was made for him. Just how good is Trey Lance? His 2019 season has catapulted him into the top 3 quarterback conversations, and the hype is warranted. A leader with the physical tools to keep defenses honest with his arms or his legs, Lance has found himself in the running to be one of the first 3 quarterbacks selected in the upcoming draft. Some are even saying he's a better prospect than Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, and that it wouldn't be shocking if his name were called before one of those guys on draft night. Lance has met Justin Fields, but has never met Trevor Lawrence. Although the two have never officially met, they have corresponded on social media, and notes the biggest similarity between them is their belief in Christ. Scouts will tell you their arm strength and ability to make plays out of the pocket are what makes the quarterbacks so similar, but according to Lance, it's their faith and how good-natured both QBs are. While Lawrence spent the pandemic raising money and awareness, Lance has been hosting Bible studies via Zoom. NFL teams and scouts will have their work cut out for them deciding between Fields, Lawrence, and Lance. It's hard to know in the fall what an NFL team is going to do in the draft the following spring, but Lance has certainly put his name in the conversation of top overall picks, and it's because he spent the last year outshining one of North Dakota State's finest. Many think Trey Lance is already better than fellow alumni Carson Wentz. In 2016, the Philadelphia Eagles chose small school quarterback Carson Wentz with the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft. While some thought Wentz had every right to be selected as one of the top picks in the draft, some questioned whether or not the level of competition North Dakota State faced is what made Wentz a standout in the FCS and how he'd do when he faced NFL-caliber defenses. The same whispers have been surrounding Trey Lance, who had a historical 2019, as we've mentioned, and will be one of the first quarterbacks to have their name called this coming spring. Lance is considered every bit of the prospect Wentz was, with many saying that Lance has a bigger arm than Wentz and may be more accurate, while there is no question that Lance is more dynamic when it comes to putting the ball down and scrambling for extra yards. It's hard to say for sure who's better at this point, as Lance has yet to play a professional down, but one thing is for certain. The school they played their college ball may have a thing or two to do with their draft capital. Trey Lance thinks North Dakota State University should be mentioned with the top schools for quarterback recruits. Lance thinks his school should be a destination for quarterbacks who want to develop and have a direct path to the NFL. In an interview, Lance was quoted as saying, "I don't know if there's any other schools, maybe Oklahoma, that's doing what we're doing at the quarterback position. The last 3 quarterbacks before me have all had legitimate NFL looks, and the last 2 have been drafted. While it's hard to believe a top recruit would choose North Dakota State over an Oklahoma or an Ohio State, Lance isn't wrong about his school producing some quality quarterbacks. Injuries aside, Carson Wentz is still regarded as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and Lance will likely get his name called in the top 10. We know they build quarterbacks, but more praise should be heaped on North Dakota State as an FCS powerhouse. Trey Lance may come from a small school, but he's not the Cinderella story that he's made out to be. North Dakota State is good at producing quarterbacks, and it's no wonder that their last 3 have all been drafted. North Dakota State has won 8 of the last 9 FCS championships, and as Trey Lance mentioned earlier on this list, are quite the quarterback factory as of late. Well, he's not wrong. When Trey Lance gets his name called and everyone says North Dakota State, people should be quick to remember Carson Wentz and the school that may appear to be an obscure destination for developing NFL-ready quarterback talent. It's not. Lance was a 3-star recruit. We mentioned how Trey Lance had minimal interest coming out of high school and had trouble getting looks at his home state of Minnesota, as Lance wanted to be a Gopher. While Trey's stats were good in high school, they weren't spectacular, and although Lance was a winner in high school, he didn't have the type of numbers that scouts and coaches drool over. When 24/7 Sports gave him a 3-star rating, it didn't exactly help Lance's recruitment matters. Rivals even gave Lance a 2. When you are a 3 or 2-star recruit, depending on who's asking, Power 5 schools don't come beating down your door. So after Lance was getting overlooked by just about every college you can think of, he had to take his talents where they could be honed and appreciated: North Dakota State. Trey Lance has always been dynamic and actually played multiple positions in high school. Trey Lance started off as a running back that grew into a quarterback, but Lance also played a little Ironman football and helped out on defense as well. As a matter of fact, if you look up Trey Lance's football team's varsity roster, it has Lance listed as a quarterback and a strong safety. He wasn't bad on defense either. In 9 games, he had 45 tackles, and it makes sense why some teams were hoping he'd convert to safety or linebacker in college. Lucky for Lance and North Dakota State, he stuck to his guns and played quarterback. But one can always wonder what the very athletic quarterback could have done on defense. If anything, his versatility speaks to the type of athlete Lance is, and his determination to continue playing quarterback speaks to his heart. Whatever team ends up drafting Trey Lance is getting a hard-working quarterback who can make every throw and keeps plays alive, who also knows how to win. That's it for our time on one of the 2021 draft's lesser-known stars to be, Trey Lance. With plenty of ability and tools to build on, it wouldn't shock anyone if Trey has his name called on draft day before Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, or goes on to have a career comparable to either of them. Lance is as gifted as they come, and if he can continue to develop, he has all the makings of a franchise quarterback. Think he can be a star? Think he will be a bust? Let us know. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do so. Until next time, sports fans.